YouTube, this is Chris Nicole of Millennial Pink, and today I'm going to be showing you the Storygraph, which officially launched out of beta on January 1st, so yesterday. First and foremost, Storygraph is a new social cataloging website that allows you to keep track of what you're currently reading, add books to your ever-growing to-read pile if you're anything like me, and discover what others are reading. But unique to Storygraph that sets it apart from Goodreads, another very popular social cataloging site. This one has a recommendations feature that allows you to get really in depth about what you enjoy reading based on your mood, based on genre, based on theme, versus on Goodreads, where it's more so based on books that you've already read and people who have enjoyed those books and what you might enjoy based on what they also enjoy, if that makes sense. So we're going to dive a little bit into the recommendations feature later, but a little bit more about the website is that it was founded by a Black woman from the United Kingdom named Nadia Odunayo. And the major draw of the website for me is that recommendations feature, but also the reading challenges section, which I will again dive into a little bit later. So once you sign up, you can choose to import your Goodreads data at the beginning, or you can wait until you're a little bit more accustomed to the website. But I imported my Goodreads data as soon as I signed up. It doesn't take very long for that data to be ready, but it isn't immediate. But the good thing is that you never lose what is over on your Goodreads. So that, it can be scary if you've been, using Goodreads for almost a decade and you have 600 books in your to-read pile and you're like, now there's this new social cataloging site. How will I be able to keep all of the information and all the books that I know I want to read? And luckily they let you do that by importing the recommendations section. I did my recommendations yesterday, so unfortunately I won't be able to show you what that form looks like, but I can show you what it looks like filled out. So you can always change your preferences. So let's go up to preferences here. And so I marked my favorite genres as thriller, science fiction, graphic novel, LGBTQIA, and fantasy. And then when I wrote, you're allowed to write in the kind of books you like to read. So all of this was stuff that I generated. This not something that I had to select from them. So I have LGBTQIA plus authors, unreliable narrators, strong female protagonists, plot twists, parallel universes, time travel, friends to lovers tropes, small towns, modern retellings, magic schools, feminism, locker room mysteries, witchcraft, final girls, Lovecraftian, and diverse characters. Obviously, I have a wide range of interests. This is just who I am as a person. So characteristics that I appreciate the most: strong world building, plot twists, and strong character development. And then you're allowed to say what genres you don't like or aren't interested in reading. So for this, I put business, true crime, sports, self-help, manga, economics, classics, and erotica. This is just not what I'm interested in. And then things that turn you off in books the most: dense writing, graphic sex, and confusing or ambiguous ending. I could talk all day about how I read In the Woods by Tana French, and I stayed up until 3 a.m. trying to finish and figure out what is about to happen in this book, only for there to be no answers, and I was very confused and very upset. So ever since then, I've been like, I don't want any ambiguous endings. Tell me what happens. All right. And then you're never in the mood for books that are hopeful, informative, or inspiring. That kind of falls into the self-help books. That's just not my interest. So you can edit your answers here. And if we go back, you can get new recommendations by filling out what you're in the mood for. So let's say that I'm in the mood for something dark, something mysterious, and it could be any of those moods. I definitely prefer books that are medium to fast. I hate a slow paced book. Definitely fiction. I'm going to leave the genres open for now. Or, actually, I'll just go ahead and throw in some, like maybe graphic novel. That would be great. A nice thriller, a speculative fiction. Ooh, a dark like fantasy would be really good. There we go. All right. Pages. I am willing to read something that's not too long, but it can be under 300 pages also. And I don't want them to show things that are already in my to read pile. All right, so let's hit search. Down here is a plus button, and I will talk about what Storygraph Plus is in a little while. Okay, so these are the books that they have recommended to me. I have started this book before, actually, and did not get very far, only because I just casually picked it up. But yeah, there looks like there's a lot of fiction, fantasy on this list. And as you can see, for every book, it lists the title, if it's part of a series, the authors, the genres, and then the moods of the book and the pacing, how many pages it is, and when it was published. I love that about Storygraph. Like all my information is right here in this little box. I didn't know Gillian Anderson had a book out. It sounds really wild. So, doesn't sound like it's up my alley. I'm not a big outer space sci-fi person, but it's definitely a good recommendation on this list. All right, so as you can see, there are a lot of recommendations given here. I love that about this. It doesn't just throw you one or two. This looks great. What is The Witch Hunter? Let's see. The magic and suspense of Graceling meet the political intrigue and unrest of Game of Thrones in this riveting fantasy debut. That sounds great just from the title. Although I said I didn't like dense books, and Game of Thrones is certainly a dense book, I do love the TV show, so it's possible I might like this. And it's only 362 pages, so it's not like 800, So when you go to a book page for its info, you can mark a book as something that you own. And I also really, really like that they have the option to buy this book, but it doesn't connect to Amazon like many places do. It connects to Bookshop, specifically if you're in the US, and then Blackwell's if you're in other countries, and Bookshop UK. And Storygraph is an affiliate with those links, so they actually earn commission if you make purchases from the website. So that's super cool. And if you're going to buy books, you should definitely buy them from Bookshop and not through Amazon, so that you can support your local independent bookstores. So another thing that's on this page, besides the description of the book, is what the community thinks. So this is based on community ratings. So when you rate a book, it asks you what mood the book is, excuse me, and then pace of the book. It asks you if there's strong character development, if there are lovable characters, if there's a diverse cast of characters, if the flaws of the characters are center stage, and then an average rating based on how many stars you gave it. It also will allow you to add it to any of your reading challenges that you're a part of, which I will talk about right after this. So yeah, you're able to mark it as read, as currently reading, or as a book that you did not finish. I think that's really great, because on Goodreads, I had to create my own did not finish shelf. And in order to say that you didn't finish it, you do still have to mark that you read it. And then maybe you could just give it lower stars or no stars if you don't want to rate it. But this actually gives you a did not finish option. So I love that. But as far as having shelves, which I have many on Goodreads. I would show you if I could log in on this computer. But there is a tag functionality on here. So if I wanted to, I could kind of mirror my shelves over on Goodreads by using tags. And that way, if I wanted to organize my books and like go through, I could do it that way. So I could definitely tag this as fantasy. These are tags that I've already created for some books. So this is a fantasy. This is also young adult, apparently, according to the website. So young adult. And that's probably what I will leave it at. I like to do like the genre and then the audience. So yeah, that's cool. And I think I'm going to add this to my to read pile just by clicking the button and boom, there. Now it's on there. So if we go back to find a book, your to read pile is here. Let's go back, search and filter. Okay, so my to read pile has 539 books on it. And luckily, it's organized by what I've added the latest, but you can change it to if you want to read something that has the fewest pages to something that has the most pages to start chipping away at that pile. You can do by what you added earliest, so things that have been on your list forever. And then you can also filter your to read pile by the mood that those books are. So if you're looking to start reading something and you're like, I just want to read something that's short, I just want to read a thriller that's on my list, but you have 539 books like me, it's impossible to go through all of the books without like continuously scrolling and scrolling. And you'll definitely miss something. So I love that feature of Storygraph. Other cool things on Storygraph are the reading challenges. I think this is what really sets Storygraph apart from Goodreads for me. You can still select a reading goal. So I have a 50 book reading goal this year. Last year, my reading goal on Goodreads was 100 books, and then the panoramic hit. So I did not finish that goal. I lowered it to 75 and then lowered it to 50 and still only made it to like 42. So it was really stressful, but this year I'm anticipating actually being able to read, get me a little vaccine so I don't have to worry about the pandemic anymore, you know. But so you're able to do your reading goal, but then you can also join reading challenges. So if you go to this plus icon, you can add challenges that are already in Storygraph. You can also create your own challenge. I'm not ready for that, but I went through here and selected the Read Harder challenge that is normally from Book Riot every year. And so luckily this user has a couple of these users. So there's two on here. They did a December start, but actually might join this one because this one only has 56 books added and this one has 1,000. But if you go here, you can view the challenge. And so they just copied this from Book Riot. And so I'm going to do join. Okay, so now I can keep track of my challenge progress. And so they have the challenge prompts listed here. There's 24 challenge prompts, and they've also added books that fit this challenge. You can also add books yourself that fit the challenge. So here we can look and read books that were added to this prompt. All excellent books. Actually have this one. So that might be the one that I read. So yeah, oh, this is probably so good. I actually do want to read this, to read. I love a graphic novel. And if it's going to be nonfiction, at the very least, a graphic novel is the way for me to go. All right, so and then if you read any of these books, mark them as read, it'll show on the Storygraph that you read a book towards this challenge. You can also select books that are on your to read pile and assign them to the challenge prompts. And so you would do that by going to, trying to find a book that might qualify. None of these qualify for this challenge, I don't think. But let's say The Haunting of Tramcar 015 by P. Djeli Clark. When you scroll down to the bottom, you can add it to your reading challenges by clicking on the challenge, and then you select what prompt it goes toward, and it'll just add it there. Then anyone that's a part of the challenge is able to find books that, fit the prompt. And one of yours is one of the recommendations. So that's super cool. I love the challenges. I'm thinking of how I could potentially use it for book club or in library work. Anything. It would be really cool. Another excellent feature is the community newsfeed. So this is similar to that first page when you first log into Goodreads. You can set it to people that you follow or to everyone. I don't currently follow anyone on Storygraph. I don't know many people that are on it yet, which is kind of the point of this video. But if you follow everyone that's on the Goodreads community, you'll see what they're reading. I'm not sure if it shows you what people are reading based on what you're interested in. I already think that it doesn't, because they're showing me that this person finished a classic romance that was reflective, and that's not in my wheelhouse, so to speak. But I think that could also be helpful because it can help you discover things that are outside of your comfort zone for reading. But I also think that's what the reading challenges are for. So that's a cool feature. More people sign up for Storygraph so I can follow you and see what you're reading. There's also, so Storygraph is free to use, but there is a level called Storygraph Plus that's coming in February of 2021, and you can pre-order it now for $50 for the year. And that way your platform will be ad-free once ads start being a thing on Storygraph. You get unlimited recommendations. You get more stat trends. I'll show you how the stat trends look currently. Personalized similar books. So when browsing books, you'll see similar book suggestions that are unique to you. You'll be priority in the queue when you update your reading preferences survey, and it'll generate new recommendations for you ahead of everyone else. And you get access to their Discord community to see how the product is coming along, how you can shape it and give feedback early on upcoming features, and chat with other Storygraph Plus members. So I'm not a member right now. I am pretty good at finding books that I am interested in because I use novelists and I have access to novelists as a librarian. So this is not something that I'm interested in right now, but I think that it could be something that's super helpful for other people who, struggle with figuring out what they want to read or where to get started. Let's go to Your Storygraph. This is not the right Your Storygraph. Okay, let's go to Your Storygraph. Okay, so this is my Storygraph now, and it has what I'm currently reading, what I've read recently, my 5-star reads, and books that I've tagged so far. I'm definitely going to be doing more tagging. And also my reading challenges dashboard to show how far I've gotten with my prompts and my reading goal. So this is also a section for books that you own. So that's one thing that I think is really cool on Storygraph as well, is that you can say, okay, I own this book. And so it's a way to keep track of what's on your bookshelf. I personally use Libib, I believe, to keep track of what's on my bookshelf. I also used to use Library Thing, but I'm just not a big fan of their interface. So this is a cool way to do that, to show what I actually own. I own much more than 4 books, I promise. This is my favorite part, is stats. I love stats. So they're now showing me stats for 2021. Let's go back to 2020. Let's just do all of 2020. Let's just do it. Okay. Obviously, there's nothing to compare right now. But in 2020, I read books that were mostly adventurous, that were mostly mysterious. I think this is all time. Yes, so this is all time. So this is what I read at any given time. Most of the books I read are adventurous, mysterious, dark, lighthearted, a little bit emotional, and then these values are like just much, these moods are much smaller. Pace, I normally read fast-paced books. I knew that. Medium and then slow is like the smallest. Page number wise, I tend to stick around the less than 300. There's only a few books I've read that are more than 500 pages. I don't know what those could be. I do know one of them is The Women's War. So, but I'm not sure why there's 15 of them. Also, I read mostly fiction. Only a very small amount of this is nonfiction. And then you have your genres. So I read mostly comics, fantasy, YA, mystery, horror, thriller, sci-fi, middle grade, crime, and feminism. One thing I will say is that since this is a new site, there could be things that don't look right. So for instance, in September or something, I started reading all of the Midnight for Charlie Bone books, the Children of the Red King series. And those are all middle grade books that I did not finish when I was younger due to life coming through and upending everything I had going on when I was a child. But I decided to reread them. And on my genres for that month, it was showing that I had read all young adult. And I was like, that's not right, because those books are middle grade books. And so I wrote to the Storygraph to say, hey, the genre on the books in the Children of the Red King series is incorrect. They're supposed to be middle grade, and they're coming up on my Storygraph as young adult. And they were super responsive. They responded very quickly, and they went in and fixed it. And boom, it was all done. So they are very responsive if something isn't, looking the way it should. There also is the option to be a librarian for Storygraph, the same way you can be for Goodreads. I have applied to do that. They're going to be doing onboarding for that, so you don't just like jump in and start editing stuff. They're going to show you how that works. So if you're interested in that, I would use the contact us feature and let them know that you are interested in being a librarian for the site. That might be all of the features that I wanted to show you all. I want everyone to just like spread the word of Storygraph. I want more people to be using it. Like I said, I really think it's great for the reading challenges. I don't necessarily think it needs to replace Goodreads. For me personally, I'm going to use it as a supplement to Goodreads if I can, log back in. But yeah, it can be a lot to track books across two websites, but I think it's worth it. The interface is growing every day. You can follow them on their Storygraph, on the Storygraph Twitter and Instagram. They post a lot on Instagram from users that tag them and stuff, and they often they got really good feedback from followers when the website was being built out. There is not an app per se, but if you do have, I believe you do this on iOS. Oh, and you can do it on Android. So you can add the Storygraph as a bookmark to your home screen. You can only do this in Safari. And you go to app.thestorygraph.com, and then you click share, and then you can add it to home screen, and then boom, then it just exists on your page. And so mine is in the same folder as my Goodreads. You just click it and it goes straight to the website, and it 100% works like normal. So you can do this on Android as well, but you have to do it in Chrome and not Safari first. So yeah. Oh, one last thing that I really, really like is that when you rate things, you can also provide content warnings. This is like the perfect book for me to have clicked on to talk about this, because it's Speak, which many people that have read Speak know that there is definitely going to be warnings for sexual assault. And so you can select these when you do your review. So people have added that there's rape, sexual assault, bullying, mental illness, self-harm, sexual violence, panic attacks, sexual content, and this is like, there's graphic of this, and there's levels. So you can say that there was moderate of something or that there was graphic of something. I think this is super cool. The founder got input from the Instagram community that follows Storygraph about what content warnings should be added that you can select from. So I'm sure if there were more that you didn't see and that you think should be added, that you'd be able to write to them and let them know, hey, can we add this as a content warning option? I think they would be very open to that. So yeah, I think that's super helpful, especially, sometimes you pick up something because it sounds interesting and then you get to a party and you're like, whoa, I did not expect any of this. And so it's good to kind of see that stuff from the outset. And this doesn't like ruin the plot, but it does give you, time to brace yourself if you still want to read something like that. All right, so that is the end of this video. I hope you come back for more videos that I'll do to review books that I have read, kind of round up books about things that are going on, especially in society. I've got a list of books that I'm going to talk about. If you enjoyed Lovecraft Country on HBO, I know a lot of people were like, wow, I did not know that I liked science fiction or speculative fiction or horror. Like, they didn't know, like, this is crazy. So I've got some recommendations that I hope you will like. And this is Chris Nicole signing off. Thanks, everyone.